Welcome to Prejith's biology class. So this class we will be learning sexuality in organisms, sexual reproduction and its related topics till embryogenesis. Okay, so sexuality in organisms in that first topic is different terminology for to explain about the type of plant it is. Plant having both male and female sex organs will be known as homothallic or monoecious or bisexual or hermaphrodite. See, these are different terminology. Some textbook use monoecious for the plant. Some textbook they use more bisexual terminology, and some textbook even use hermaphrodite. But basically, hermaphrodite more used in animals, basically, which I have seen. But some textbook also has exceptional cases where hermaphrodite terminology for plants also is used. Okay, so these are terms which are used to explain this in the plant kingdom. Both male and female sex organs are there, whether it may be in the flower or it may be in the not in the flower, like in pteridophytes, gymnosperms, bryophytes, etc. In that case, these terminologies are used. Any one terminology, especially this homothallic terminology. This one is used for the fungus. In the fungus, both male uh, gamete producing structure and female gamete, that is basically there is no like such male and female. Different strain hyphae are known as to give out different type of cells, and which are joining and forming a reproductive structures further. So in fungus, homothallic word is used to explain about both male and female sex organ presence. Apart from that, monoecious, the bisexual, hermaphrodite are for higher organisms, like higher group of plant. Next is plants having only one sex organ. This is two sex organ. What the terms are used, we have seen. In the one sex organ, it is heterothallic, dioecious, unisexual. In flowering plants, the unisexual male flower is staminate, that is bearing stamens, while female is pistillate or bearing pistils. So in basically flowering plants means it is angiosperms. In the angiosperms, unisexual male flower is called as staminate, which is only bearing stamens, and unisexual flowers which is bearing only pistillate female part, that is pistils, we call it as pistillate or bearing pistils, which are bearing actually pistils. It's not or, it is that is like that. Next, see the condition of plant can be like this. Suppose flowering plants, this condition also can be present, where one plant is having only one type of flower, that is male parts, stamens. The another plant, separate plant, will be having its own flower, that is female flower, pistillate. So staminate and pistillate flower bearing plants separately, and that we have seen just now what are the terms used for that condition. And here it is, both the flowers are there, okay, in the same plant. And here in the same plant, one flower male and another flower female, that kind also can be seen. So this is dioecious, only one sex organ is there, so these each one can be called considered as dioecious. Here it is monoecious, there is one flower contains both male and female. In this one plant is having both male and female but separate flower, still we can consider as monoecious. So in this you can see that conditions, papaya female flower bearing plant. So the papaya which is having only the female bearing flower is there, and the papaya which is having only the male flower is there. In one papaya only we can't see both the male and female flowers, That's the reason some of the time in some of the your neighboring locations when papaya is there, you can't see on that papaya sometime the papaya fruit. Why? Because that may be mostly because this type of flower will be there, because male flower only will be there. There will be no female flower, so obviously there will be no fruit formation. So you can see here in this image, female flowers will be like this and male flower will be like this. Little bit slightly variations are there in their arrangement. So in which context the food formation happens? Suppose any insects or bird takes the pollen grains from the male flower and transfers it into the stigma of the female flower, which should be in neighboring location somewhere. Then only the papaya fruit formation will take place. So this is showing you how the father and mother is producing a sperm and ovum in successive cell division. So father, which is having 46 chromosome in his somatic body cells, undergoes meiosis, first division, 23 chromosomes bearing cells will be produced, that will be undergoing modification to form the sperm. So after second division, so meiosis have two divisions. Same way in mother, there are two successive cell division, that is meiosis, but in the second division, out of four cells, only the single cell is modifying into ovum. Remaining all three are changing into polar bodies and they are not functional. So gamete formation takes place by cell division. That point is highlighted here. Gamete formation mainly happens after a meiosis, basically meiosis cell division. There are some exceptional cases are there where gamete formation takes place and forms the gametes in the gamete formation, the meiosis is not taking place, mitosis takes place. So I will show you in the coming clippings about that, some special cases. But in general, in higher organisms, in higher plants and higher animal categories, the meiosis is the cell division which makes sure the gametes are produced. In haploid parents, it is by mitosis. Okay, so this just now I was talking about that not always meiosis. So some cases, that is haploid parents, if it is there, it will be by mitosis. I'll show you that related images. In diploid parents, it is by meiosis. So these human beings and plants, higher plants, that is angiosperm, gymnosperm, all that you see diploid parents, where it is meiosis with specialized cells called meiocytes. So these the cell onto which the meiosis takes place, we call it as meiocytes. So in male it is male germinal cells, or in the female it is female germinal cells, we call it as. So they are called as generally meiocytes. So which are undergoing these cells undergoing meiosis and ultimately forms the sperm and ovum. So let us see about this point, that haploid parents, it is mitosis, how it is. See in this image it is explaining you in some of the lower plants like algae, in the pteridophytes, bryophytes category, you can see alternation of generation. That is, one generation there will be the organisms will be having haploid set of chromosomes, and in one generation there will be diploid set of chromosomes. Diploid means in the sporophytic generation we call it as, haploid means it is gametophytic generation we call it as gametophytic generation. So this alternates and completes the life cycle of the. This is not there at this time. It is not there in detailed study, but I have to show this. So what I was talking about previously, that the mitosis happens for the formation of gametes. No, so here it is. The spores, which are in haploid condition, undergoes mitosis to form the gametes. That is nothing but gametophytic structures are formed. So these gametes ultimately forms the gametophyte structure forms the gametes. It will come in detail in later part. Then about gamete transfer. for their fusion to take place, gametes need to be transferred to one location. So gamete transfer is nothing but the movement of basically male gametophyte, that is nothing but pollen grains in the plants. In higher animals it is sperm, have to move towards where the female gamete is present. So as you can see, if you take example of flower, this is the ovule, so it is present here, and these are the male part. Okay, so it has to move towards these pollen grains. Microsporangium is nothing but the pollen grains which present in the anther, has to move towards the ovule. So that is called as gamete transfer. So that is in the plants. In animals, human egg is not moving, it is static, it is present in the female reproductive pathway. But in the male, it is having flagella, so it has to move towards the female genital tract. So that is happening through physical mode of movement. Male genital structure is introduced into female genital structure. There the sperm is released and the sperm swims towards the vagina. So that is gamete transfer in organisms. Not organisms, in the human beings. So let us watch a video in which male-female gametes in human beings are shown in detail and its related topics.
We're going to look at two very crucial and highly specialized cells, egg and sperm cells. These lead to each and every one of us being here, hence they are so very crucial. The female sex cells are known as the ova or egg cells, or ovum for one. The male sex cells are known as sperm cells. Both of these sex cells are known as gametes. Gametes are an organism's reproductive cells. They have half the genetic information that all of our other body cells have, and so are known as haploid. Humans have 23 chromosomes, and most of the cells in our body have 2 of each. So 23 pairs of chromosomes make 46 in total, 1 from our mother and 1 from our father. However, gametes, so the sperm or egg cells, only have 1 of each, and which one, whether it is from the mother or the father, is random. This means that each of our gametes can be different from each other, depending on the mix of chromosomes. Although the egg cell and sperm cell have this very important similarity of only 23 chromosomes, they are very different cells to look at. First off, they are hugely different in size. A human egg cell is spherical in shape and around 130 micrometers in diameter. That's 0.13 millimeters. Not very large, but what size do you think a sperm cell is? Have a look at this egg cell being fertilized, and you can see the difference in size. As you can see, there is a lot of sperm. An ejaculation varies but contains at least 20 million sperm per milliliter. That's a lot. In comparison, on average, a woman releases just 1 egg per month. The reason there are so many sperm is to increase the chances of fertilization. When one sperm reaches their egg cell and their nuclei fuse, this gives 2 of each of the 23 chromosomes, and so makes up the 23 pairs and 46 chromosomes in total. The egg cell is large because it goes on to become a new person, and so is packed full of cell organelles, which allow it to create new energy and parts. The sperm, on the other hand, only passes on its nucleus. Let's take a look at what is special about sperm. The head is full of the cell parts that produce energy and also the nucleus. The sperm needs lots of energy to get moving. As you can see, there is a tail that it uses to swim to the egg cell. The sperm has a long journey, while the egg cell doesn't move. You can also see the cap right at the top of the sperm. That's called the acrosome and contains special enzymes. These enzymes are used to break through the protein coating that is around each egg cell. Because this protein varies from species to species, this egg prevents cells from being fertilized by sperm from another species. From this video, you should now know the difference between an egg and a sperm cell. The egg is much bigger, does not move, and contains organelles needed for the fertilized egg to develop into an embryo and onto a new human. Sperm cells are much smaller and motile, and there are millions of them. They only pass on their nucleus and so are able to be small. And most importantly, you should now know that gametes, so the egg and sperm cells, only contain 23 chromosomes each. This is known as haploid. When the egg is fertilized by a sperm cell, the 23 chromosomes from each pair up, giving the normal diploid amount of 23 pairs of 46 chromosomes.
So next, what we are going to see here, that is, in most organisms the male gametes are motile while the female gametes are non-motile, and the male gametes need a medium for their movement. Okay, the large number of male gametes do not make it to the female gametes because they are too much large number. Everyone will not be succeeding. Hence, the several thousands of male gametes are produced to overcome this loss. So, as I was previously mentioning, there is a movement involved. So, naturally, the race will be there to reach to the female gamete, and that too, every gamete, male gamete, will not be succeeding it because there is a less chance to reach exactly to that location. There are different agents, there are insects, there are wind, there are water, etc., etc. So too many are produced, then some of them will be reaching to the female part. So that's why a large number of male gametes are produced. So several thousands of male gametes are produced to overcome the loss. In angiosperm flowering plants, nothing but flowering plants, angiosperm is always flowering plants, the pollen grain carries the male gametes and ovule carries the female gamete. So carries means, it's not meaning here it is moving anywhere other part, it means it is having. Carries means having. Pollen grain having the male gamete and ovule having the female gamete. So this part is the male part, anther, and this also, and female part is this. Okay, this is ovule which is carrying the female part, anthers carrying the male part. That is nothing but the anther is having the pollen grains inside, packed. So just remember, male gametes are motile, female gametes are non-motile. This point highlighted. And several thousands of male gametes are produced. Next point, pollen grains are produced in the anther and need to be transferred to the stigma for fertilization to occur. Absolutely correct. This is easy in monoecious plants. Monoecious plants, because both male and female part will be in the same location, as both the anther and stigma are present in the close by, very nearby. In dioecious plants, it takes place by pollination. Dioecious plants means where the male flower producing plant will be separate, as in the papaya we have discussed, and female flower producing plant will be separate. In that case, there should be proper pollination and proper organisms or wind or not living or non-living things should be involved in it. So here it is represents monoecious plants flower. It is hibiscus, where it is male part is anther, it is opened anther, and this is the stigma. And here it is electron microscope, very detailed image of single pollen grain. Each one is a single pollen grain, male gamete. It is inside that male gamete cell is there. So actually this is sticking onto the stigma surface is shown here. This is another image where it is showing different type of pollen grains are there. So this is one type, the smaller one type. This is another type. This is another type. This is a triangular shape, another one. This is a disc-like one. So there are different type of pollen grains. Here it is showing. Sorry. Yeah. So here it is showing pistil, that female part it is, from stigma onwards till all the central part it is called as pistil. This is male part, anthers. So anthers present on stamens. So this anther and filamen combinedly we call it as stamens. So this is another image showing that same thing in a different colored flower. Only the reproductive structure is shown. This is the stamens which is having anther, and this is the stigma. The central part is continuation of that stigma which is having the tube inside. This is the pistil part, and this is surrounding them is the stamens which is having the anther. Okay, so these are the different type of stigma in different type of flowers. Next is sexual reproduction. Fertilization means what? Fertilization is the most important process. Sexual reproduction is most important process in the whole step-by-step processes happening from gamete production to birth of a young one. Out of these, fertilization is very important, because without fertilization there will be no union of two gametes. Fertilization is the most important event in the sexual reproduction. This process is also called as syngamy. It's another terminology for the fertilization, and leads to formation of the zygote. So here it is in the animal. What happens? Sperms comes and joins to the egg. That is fertilization. In plants, the pollen tube formation happens from the pollen grains on the stigmatal surface, and this tube carries the male gametes and reaches the, its enlarged image is here, reaches the ovules, especially in the embryo sac it enters, and the union of one male gamete to the egg cell happens. So this one is the embryo formation taking place from this point onwards. So before embryo process going on, different stages of embryo process going on, it first forms a zygote. The zygote structure. So zygote in plants also it is called as zygote only. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so here the zygote formation happens. So this both plant and animals I have shown here. However, in some organisms, zygote formation takes place without fertilization and is known as parthenogenesis. So which occurs in some of the examples it is shown here: rotifers, honeybees, aphids, some lizards and crustaceans. So that means there is no involvement of the male gamete. Without the presence of male gamete, the zygote formation takes place. So this is rotifers, honeybees, aphids, lizards, crustaceans. We can see this type of occurrence, parthenogenesis. Okay, even in the plants also parthenogenesis happens, where examples are grapes and some of the fruits. So let us see what is external fertilization. We have seen what is fertilization. So gametic fusion taking place outside the body, that is in water, and That type of fertilization is called as external fertilization. So example, in the frog, see, this is a female and this is a male. In the water bodies, they do the mating process and the gametes are released in the water bodies. So that is called as external fertilization. There must be synchrony of gamete release. So female releasing egg and male releasing sperms should be synchronized. If different timings are there, then it is difficult. A large number of gametes released to enhance the chance of fertilization. Enable the uh, yeah. So enable the individual to produce large number of offsprings. Their eggs and offsprings are highly vulnerable to predators. So as it is, they are in big number present in water bodies when the season comes, and at the same time they are releasing lot of big number of eggs and sperms. So predators who are mainly targeting these kind of egg eggs and sperms, smaller creatures, smaller fishes, they will be targeting them. So these their eggs, especially eggs, will be nutritious in nature, so that will be easy food for them. So predators will be targeting. So it will be vulnerable means they're easily targetable, and this threatens their survival up to adulthood. So because of that, their survival, even after the zygote formation, in the growth stage, tadpole stage also, they can be easily targeted by the predators, especially the snakes and etc. So we'll see a video related to that. Next topic is internal fertilization. In most terrestrial organisms, fertilization is internal. It takes place inside the female body. In this process, the male gamete is motile and reaches the female gamete to fuse with it, forming the zygote. So male gametes are produced in a large number. Obviously, here also male gametes are larger in number. So as the name mentions, it is internal, inside the body of a female. Female reproductive tract. This union takes place. So here also one video will be explaining more clearly about that. Let us see that video. Next comes post-fertilization events. So first thing is formation of zygote. Then after fertilization over, zygote is formed. Then what happens next? That is post-fertilization events. So after fertilization, obviously zygote is formed, which is a universal thing happening. So which all organisms are sexually reproducing organisms, there all we can see the formation of zygote. Zygote is formed usually in water in case of external fertilization. Just now we have seen. Zygote is formed inside the body of organism in internal fertilization. That also we have seen. So this is a zygote. Can see two cells, male gamete and female gametes. Nuclear content is joined there. Its actual image through electron microscope. Cleavage happens. First mitosis happens, and further the growth takes place by increasing the number of cells by mitosis. The development of a zygote depends upon the life cycle of an organism and its surroundings, because especially in the external fertilization, as I told, externally the predators are more than the young ones. Before reaching to the complete stage of growth, it will be dying in between. In some organisms like zygote of fungi and algae develops a thick wall that is resistant to desiccation and damage. So especially in fungi and algae, to overcome the difficult atmospheric condition, they will be growing a thick wall around the spores. Usually they are releasing spores, so they'll build a thick wall so that they can escape from the desiccation. Desiccation is nothing but too much heat, then the water content will be evaporated from that location, then that is not congenial for their new generation growth. So to resist the desiccation and damage, thick wall is grown surrounding the spores. An organism with a haplontic life cycle, the zygote undergoes meiosis to produce haploid spores. Organisms which are undergoing the haplontic life cycle, the zygote undergoes meiosis. Usually in higher organisms you see zygote undergoes mitosis only, but here it is reverse. It forms spores after undergoing meiosis. I'll show you image for that. So here it is, what I had mentioned here, haplontic life cycle can be seen here. See, in algae like volvox and spirogyra, these type of life cycles are there, where a portion of its life cycle is in a diploid condition, as you can see, diploid condition, and the larger portion is a haploid condition. So as it is a more haploid condition is there in the life cycle, more time is passed in the haploid condition type of cells, then it is called as haplontic life cycle, which is seen in algae like volvox, spirogyra, etc. Diplontic means same cycle, but more lifetime is spent in the sporophytic stage, that is diploid stage. So less in haploid stage, so it is diplo first, more time taken. So like that, haplontic life cycle only, as you can see, haplontic life cycle only you can see a change, that is zygote supposed to be getting into that cell division mitosis, it goes into meiosis, only happens in the haplontic life cycle, which can be seen in the algae, but not in diplontic life cycle. Diplontic life cycle, zygote forms sporophyte, which is because of the mitosis only, then forms through gametogenesis, it forms meiosis, then once again two strains of cells, like that. Okay, next topic is embryogenesis. Development of zygote into an embryo is called as embryogenesis. So zygote becoming an embryo is called as embryogenesis. Okay, then next is zygote undergoes cell division, mitosis, and cell differentiation happens. An oviparous animal which lays egg and development takes place inside the egg. So oviparous animal, they are forming the egg inside the body. So I mean to say, oviparous animal lays the egg and development takes place inside the egg, not inside the female body. But at the same time, when you see the viviparous animal gives birth to young one, the growth happens inside the female body, the development takes place inside the body of a female. So that oviparous nature can be seen in chickens, where egg is laid. So in the eggs, inside the egg, the development takes place, and in for the viviparous nature, all these animals are the example. They give birth to the young ones. Animals can be grouped into two categories based on how and where the development of zygote takes place. So oviparous, the fertilized egg is covered by calcareous shell and is released into the outside environment. So development takes place inside the egg. So as just now I was talking about, same thing once again mentioned here, birds and reptiles. Viviparous means development of zygote takes place inside the female body. Example, mammals including human beings. In flowering plants, zygote is formed inside the ovule. So zygote, which is developing into ultimately embryo, and ovule develops into seed, and ovary, which is developing into fruit, which is containing seeds and disperse and germinate to form a new plant. That is a very important in the plant seeds. What all things gives what all the in successive development is given here. Zygote is giving embryo, ovule is giving seed, ovary is giving the fleshy part, that is fruit. So which will be inside, that it will be containing seed. This seed will be contained inside because the ovule is covered by ovarian wall, so that will be giving out the fruity structure. As you can see, comparable to the tomato flower is like this. See how it is modified into a fruit. See ovary, this complete layer is becoming this fleshy part. The central part, ovules, is here only as the seeds. These are the seeds, you can see here seeds. And what else? The remaining part all will be disintegrated. These all parts will be gone. Only this part will be modified to form the tomato, which is a fruit. So here is message to you.